Hey everybody, this is John at the top of the episode. I wanted to do a quick disclaimer before we get started. The views represented here are our views and our views alone. They do not represent that of our employers. To that end, please do not try and find our employers either. Thanks.
Okay, hi there, and welcome to seedpod, a podcast about the natural world. I am your host today, Calvin, and I am joined alphabetically by
AJ. I'm AJ. I'm here.
Thank you.
Let's talk.
Thank you, AJ. And our other host,
John. I'm also here. I'm eating lunch.
and we have a guest. Guest, who are you?
I'm Marissa. I am also here. I'm your friendly neighborhood animal historian.
Returning champion guest, Marissa.
Yeah, champion of the show, Marissa. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you for joining us. Now, Marissa, as our second time guest, we have a second time guest question for you, which is, how has your relationship with the natural world changed since we last talked?
Well, I have become, as I threatened in the previous episode, I have become the most insufferable version of myself, which is the one who is delighted by how cold it is while everyone else is whining about it.
Oh, you're doing your Great Pyrenees?
Yeah, I love this. I would like to be as cold as possible. It's great. I love it. My hands hurt when I go outside without gloves because that's a stupid thing to do. Just put gloves on and you're fine. And I'm so happy. So the way it's changed is that I have become more obnoxious because of it.
You
Oh,
are
hell
a
yeah.
Midwesterner.
Hell yeah, dude.
I love the time of year when I start bleeding when I bump into something randomly.
I mean,
It's my
What?
favorite.
There's something wrong with you.
You know, like when it's really cold. No, man, like when it's really cold and like, you know, you hit your hand on something that any other time of the year would not do anything, but in the winter, it just splits your skin wide open.
Oh, yeah, no, that happens to my wife. Yeah. Her hands dry out and just start bleeding like the second she goes outside.
I have a humidifier running next to me right now because if I get more than about 3 feet away from it, I shrivel up like a raisin.
Oh, hey, speaking of humidifiers and things that need humidifiers, that leads us into our invasive of the week. I'm switching the segments around. The American
fine.
bullfrog.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, very nice.
Castabenatus, also known as the bullfrog. Now, listener, you may be wondering, oh, the American bullfrog, isn't that native to the Americas? And listener, you would be wrong. It is only native to eastern North America. Unfortunately, it is found today across the whole of North America, excluding most of Canada, because most of Canada is cold. And frogs don't like to get that cold. Otherwise, they freeze. That's what the wood frog does, but that's a different story for a different time. Now, why does the bullfrog not extend across all of America? I will give you guys one guess. Naturally. Why does it naturally not extend all across North
Because the
America?
Great Plains are there?
Fucking mountains.
The Great Plains! Wham, wham, wham! Yeah.
Not exactly frog habitat.
Yeah, exactly. The Great Plains stopped their migration. They have been moved west, and now you can find them across most of America. Guess who they were moved west by?
Europeans.
Yeah, people were like, frogs is neat, frogs is good, let's put frogs everywhere.
What if I put frogs in my garden? That'll be fun.
Yeah, what if why aren't there frogs in this, like in Colorado, why aren't there frogs in this high alpine pond? There should be frogs in this pond. We must have killed them all. Actually, no. There weren't frogs in here to begin with, and now we have frogs. So the problem with the American bullfrog is it's a pretty big frog, and being a big frog, it doesn't really have a set thing that it eats. The bullfrogs eat basically anything they can get their face on, which is surprisingly a lot.
It's like small birds too, right?
Oh, dude, they're
Anything that'll fit in their
yeah,
mouths.
they're known to eat.
And some things that won't.
We'll get there. They're known to eat everything from mice to beetles, to tadpoles to other bullfrogs. They'll eat everything. Everything. And because they have the tadpole stage, they also prey on a lot of plants and sensitive aquatic vegetation and algae. So, like, if you can name an organism that's like under 2 pounds, a bullfrog can and will and has eaten it. They've eaten scorpions, bats, tarantulas, birds, snails, frogs, worms, amphibians, crayfish, crustaceans, fish, lizards. The only reason they don't eat humans is because we're too big. They eat eggs. They eat snails. Yeah, the bullfrog is a voracious predator, and they can get pretty big. I mean, we're talking like 2 pounds is what they've been measured up as. So it's the largest true frog in North America, and one of the largest true frogs in the world. So them as big
So
boys.
does that mean that the bullfrog is the pig of the amphibian world?
Yes.
Okay.
The other thing about bullfrogs that makes them really interesting is that they are raised for food. So if you think of frog legs, those are usually bullfrogs, the American bullfrog, though there is also an African bullfrog, which is bigger and is skinned for boots.
Oh, I don't like that.
Those
Don't like that.
they don't.
Okay, so how does
That's-
that work?
yeah,
Because I
that
would assume
sounds
that their
wrong.
skin is very thin because they're amphibians.
Yes, they're very dressy boots, and the underneath of the boot is a cowhide. It looks kind of interesting, but it doesn't do anything.
Wait, so they're just putting a wrap on it.
Yeah, I wrap my boots.
That's so
That's the
dumb.
next Saudi, like, insane, Emirati, like, insane thing, oil baron thing is, I wrap my Lamborghini whatever with bullfrog skin.
Look, I have no legs to stand on here because I have snakeskin and ostrich boots, so I will say nothing about this.
I mean, snakeskin's fine, though. I don't know about ostrich. That's a little weird, but whatever.
Look, I have ostrich leg. It looks really fun, and it's an offcut of the ostrich. And the snakeskin, in case you're wondering, listeners, they are pythons from the Florida
Okay, so
Everglades.
good.
So shot out. Yeah. It's just fun. Sometimes a guy needs a treat, and this is my little treat.
I mean, if I could get Tegu boots, I would.
You can.
I mean, not here at the store.
You can just order them online, and also you can get them there at the store. It's called Boot Barn. You live in the South. That would be an incredibly easy boot to get. I can send them to you. I have a problem.
I have a guy.
Okay. It's called eBay. Okay, so they so bullfrogs. The American bullfrog can be found around the world because it is raised culinarily, and it's also just a neat little guy. And so they are currently invasive in, I'm just going to list some continents now: South America, North America, Eurasia, Japan, Oceania. They are not invasive in Africa.
Yet.
That's it. They're basically around the world. They've been moved around because they're neat little guys people like to look at and keep as pets. I don't know why you keep a bullfrog as a pet. They're kind of smelly. My cousins had some kind of African frog and they were smelly. And then also they've been raised for food. And they've escaped from food raising. So that's why we have bullfrogs places. And they eat everything, and they're just a voracious parasite. Well, they're not a parasite, they're a predator. Sorry, they're a voracious predator that cannot be stopped in many cases. They breed at incredible rates, and they're just happy to eat whatever. So bullfrogs, they are the hogs of the amphibian world.
What does a frog farm look like? Is it just a series of ponds?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a crayfish farm.
That is less exciting than I was hoping, but does make sense.
Oh, the other thing about them is they can be vectors for chytrid because they are immune to chytrid fungus. Sorry, chytrid fungus is another episode entirely. It's a fungus that's moving around the world and wiping out amphibians, but they are immune to the fungus, so they can carry it, so they can just wipe out other frogs.
Bad frog. Frog
Yeah,
bad.
no. Keep frog in native habitat.
Cool. Woodland Minute then?
Yeah, now it's time for the Forest Minute.
This is the fastest we've done this. Holy cow. We're getting good, finally. It's only taken
It really is.
hours. Yeah.
Hey, look, this is like episode 14
Some of
we've
it.
recorded. We'll figure it out. Plus, we've already podcasted today, so we got all the silliness out
Don't
of the
make
way.
me go first.
Okay, so, AJ, what is your
Yeah,
Forest
shit.
Minute?
All right. I hadn't even thought about it. Actually, well,
No,
I
we're
did
doing it just like
over
New
the
Jersey.
weekend.
You're talking-
I helped a coworker do a nice little I don't even know what the word for it would be, like interpretive walk with a like a local like neighborhood group. They just kind of were like, oh, we didn't know about this natural area out here. What's going on with it? And we're like, well, we can put together a little thing
Yay!
if y'all want to come on out on Saturday, and we'll just do a little ecology walk and talk and everything. It was quite nice. It was just a lot of people who were kind of like, oh, we didn't know anything about any of this stuff, and we just randomly decided to reach out to y'all and see if there was anything, that we could, like, go enjoy in the woods. We're like, yeah, sure, we'll walk you around the woods for a couple hours. It was great. They were delightful people.
It is finally above not even above freezing. It's above
John
0
Boy,
degrees
what's your
out. It's a
forest
pretty
minute?
basic one. A lot of things, including me, stop working really good if it's below about 5 degrees out, and it's been below 5 degrees for a couple days. So it's a simple thing. The weather is nice-ish out. That's it. It's still shotgun season out. We've taken 40 deer out of one of the properties that I manage.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was only in like a week and a half of time. So
Hell yeah.
there's a lot of deer out there. So we're going to get them. But that's it.
Oh man, I mean, as I said at the last time I was on here, I am a historian. I spend a lot of my
Nice.
time inside.
Marissa, what
I
is
think
your
about the
forest
outside a
minute?
lot. But because it's winter, I have been spending more time outside when I can, because again, favorite season, trying to infect my child with it. So I think that's my main forest minute, is that I have spent a lot of time this winter trying to convince my child that winter is actually really great and they should be delighted by it. We've got them shoveling. They're 3, and they're helping us shovel the driveway. So, like, we're getting there.
Yeah.
But they're not super keen on hiking in snow yet.
Hell yeah.
Which I can kind of understand because they're very small.
Yeah.
But we're working up to it. I'm about to go home to
Yeah,
my...
that makes a lot of sense.
They even make
well, I don't know.
snowshoes for
When we
girls?
snowshoe with them, we pull them on a sled behind us right now.
Oh, that's cute. That's really cute.
Because it is the only way to make that happen, and I must snowshoe. We have to do it, so we gotta put the kid on a pack. But we're about to go out to my parents in Minnesota for the holidays, and they have some property, so we'll get some good like baby's first tromping through the woods going with them when we're out there.
Nice.
Nice. Maybe some cross country skiing too. I don't know if they're too young for that.
I don't
When
know.
They start doing that.
Pod baby.
Yeah. So did I interrupt forest minute?
No, I think Marissa
good.
covered it. Yeah.
Sick. My forest snowshoe with the kid, fantastic. Personal opinion, snowshoeing sucks. I like skiing more. My forest minute is my dad and I went deer hunting on Friday night. It was the end of the deer season, and we just walked around. We didn't see anything. We just saw a lot of tracks. If I had seen more deer sign, it would have been a deer. There's no other way I could have seen more sign and not seen a deer. It was like, those like highways on right off the like towns right off the highway, like those exits where it's just a bunch of sign. I was like, how did we not see a deer? But we didn't. So that was the forest minute. Okay, jumping into the episode, the focus of our episode. Today we're going to be doing one of a 2-part series on, guess, friend of the show, genus of the show, beavers. So this is genus Castor. So in the genus Castor, we have 2 members. We have Castor canadensis, which is the preferred mammal of the pod. That would be the Canadian beaver. And then we have the Eurasian beaver, which is Castor fiber. Fun fact here, which is it was believed until the 1970s that there was one species, and that was Castor canadensis. However, in the 1970s, they were split into the Eurasian beaver and the Canadian beaver. The difference being that Eurasian beavers have 8 more chromosomes than the Eurasian beaver. So the Canadian beaver has 48 chromosomes, the Eurasian beaver has 40 chromosomes, and that means the 2 cannot hybridize, which will come back. So that's why there are 2 species of beaver. Both species have a number of subspecies. The Eurasian beaver has, depending on which taxonomist you ask, 9 subspecies, and the American, again, depending on which subspecies, depending on who you ask, has 25.
I would simply not ask a taxonomist.
I'm learning that
That's-
very quickly. Just stop asking them questions. Yeah.
Standard advice.
They made pigs
Standard advice
very
for the show.
complicated, so I have a bone to pick with them.
The big difference between the Eurasian beaver and the Canadian or North American beaver is the Eurasian beaver is a little bit smaller. The Canadian beaver can reach up to 71 pounds. It's the largest recorded beaver, making it the 2nd largest rodent in the world after friend of the show, the capybara. Capybara is really friend
It really
of
is.
everyone.
Delightful.
Yeah. Capybara.
So the Eurasian beaver is a little bit smaller. They're a little bit longer. Their tail is a little bit more narrow, and their nasal cavities are slightly more triangular, whereas the Canadian ones are, the North American beaver is squarer. Also, they're a little bit lighter colored, where the American beaver is a little bit darker colored. Sorry, it's the North American beaver, whatever. Okay, so those are our two species of beavers. Isn't that neat?
It certainly is.
And I think there's a couple, like, really big ones, I think it was. Like,
there are some extinct ones, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'm just going to move past those.
I have a fun historical fact about beaver taxonomy.
Hit us with
the 7th century scholar Isidore of Seville, he said that the word castor, which was Latin, he said that came from the word to castrate, that's actually not the Latin word for beaver at all. It is Greek, but he was trying.
That's again, like, that's a 7th century thing. It's like, yeah, we're trying to connect the dots and make it make sense, and I mean, we're doing that just with weirdly more science and stuff like that. So yeah. I can appreciate it.
We're making it up as we go. It's the 7th.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What are you gonna do? Okay, so like we mentioned, like, these can be a pretty large animal. Again, getting up to 70 pounds or like 40, 50 pounds is kind of more of a normal size in the American beaver. As you go further south, these guys range from Alaska down to Mexico. So as you go south in their range, they get a little bit smaller. In Eurasia, you can find them. They're technically native to the UK. They're functionally extinct in the UK. You historically could find them in most of the river systems of Europe, extending into Russia, and then up into Norway and Sweden, and a little bit in Finland, but limited. So this, I think that many people know a little bit about beavers. So beavers are one of those interesting things where we could, like, say that they're like a wetland animal or almost a marine mammal. However, they wouldn't be like true marine mammals because they don't hang out in, marine environments, that being saltwater. They hang out in freshwater. So they're a wet animal.
Yeah, they're also rodents. They're not.
Yes,
they're not mammals.
Correct.
I don't know what the difference is
No,
biologically.
they're
but
mammals. They're mammals.
They're
Just in the order of
okay.
Rodentia.
I don't know the difference. Jesus Christ.
John boy over here. Yeah, rat's not a mammal. You're a rat. It's a complete rodents are different things.
Okay.
So their class is Mammalia. Their order is Rodentia. The family is Castoridea. Subfamily Castor. Genus Castor. If you want to do full taxonomy.
I'm maintaining that we should not talk to taxonomists, and you're making my head hurt.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Kevin, please come over for gay sex.
Jesus Christ.
Easy to remember.
So beavers hang out in riparian settings. Okay.
And riparian settings, if we recall, are like stream habitats ish.
Wet.
Yeah.
Yes. So, fun thing about beavers, most people think of beavers as, like, being limited to where they hang out. But, like, you can find beaver lodges on the Great Lakes. They obviously don't make dams on the Great Lakes, which is what they're known for. But, like, anywhere where there's enough water for a beaver to get wet, they're going to hang out.
Yep. So, like, in Iowa, we've got the Mississippi, one of the largest rivers in North America, and they have dens along the side banks of the Mississippi, and they
lodges.
Go all the way.
Lodges.
Sorry, they're lodges. Yep. So they've got those bank lodges, and they go all the way up from the Mississippi, all the way up into what I can only describe as essentially an agricultural, like, ditch, basically. That's perennial. Mm-hmm. It's got pretty decent water year round, but there's not a whole hell of a lot there. But they make dams there. They do one of the cool things that we found with beavers is that depending on the surrounding contextual habitat, basically, is that they adapt. So, like, we found a hell of a lot more bank hides rather than traditional lodges in our area, mostly because, like, a lot of our systems are just strictly rivers. There's not a whole lot of wide flowing areas where they can build kind of that center lodge in the middle of a waterway. We also don't really have that many wolves either, so they don't particularly have to worry about getting, like, predated on land. Sometimes a coyote will grab them or something like that, or maybe a bobcat.
We'll come back to.
Okay.
Let's say beavers have prey. We'll put them aside. So
okay.
You were talking about denning creatures that den on the bank. That's mostly going to be muskrats. Muskrats, often confused for beavers, but notably not beavers. Muskrats have longer, thinner tails and are a little bit more carnivorous than beavers.
They're also ugly as shit.
And they're smelly. Well, both of them are smelly.
Both are smelly.
Beavers are, in my personal opinion, tastier. I would
Yeah.
eat a muskrat.
No, yeah. Beaver's tasty though.
We're going to talk about the human impacts of beaver in a little bit, which is why we brought Marissa on. Beaver tails are basically all fat, and so like people fry those up. Beaver meat itself's got to be slow roasted. It's pretty not great.
I was gonna say, I imagine it's pretty gamey and very rubbery. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because beavers mostly eat like wood. Like they can literally digest sawdust. They're micro. Another fun fact about beavers is the North American beaver. Its intestines are roughly 6 times its body length, and it has a really enlarged stomach because it has all these microbes in it that are capable of breaking down cellulose. Cellulose is one of the most common molecules on the planet, but it's really tough for most mammals and things to break down. So beavers have some really interesting microbes, and those break down the cellulose. But like, yeah, I've had it once. Not great. Don't recommend. They kind of vary their diet based on seasonality. So in the spring and summer, you're going to find them eating a lot of forbs. So those are your non-grassy, non-woody plants. So they also eat grasses too. But they're going to eat a lot of forbs and stuff like that in the springtime. And in the summer, when that's all nice and fresh and full of nutrients and not too full of tannins. And then, in the fall, they switch to more of your woody plants. And so what they're doing is they're eating the vascular cambiums right underneath the bark. That's where I'm going to air quotes, all the nutrients are. There is not a lot of nutrients in cambium.
No,
Not
it's
much.
definitely a survival type food. One of the things we found is that beavers love to grab corn stalks from cornfields and drag them into their overwintering pile, basically, and use them. They grab them and pull them in. I think it's funny. Like, it's not
That's
necessarily
so
a good building resource. So I mean, the main thing about beavers that people think about is their damming behavior. So I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to hit.
We'll come back to
before we
damming.
move on.
Let's
Cool. Okay.
So they do have preferences in what they eat. So they don't like to eat conifers. They will cut some down and use them in their building, which we're going to talk about. But when they're eating stuff, they're mostly eating your angiosperms, so your aspens, your alders, your willows, that kind of stuff. And they have preferences. So their preferences are based on both species as well as plant size. They don't want it to be too small, because if it's too small, then it's really tough for them to eat. But if it's too large, they can't drag it around. And so their selection is based on size and species, as with most critters. Like, there's regional preferences. So just like John mentioned, that's really fun. Then eating corn.
Yep.
Corn
I mean,
has corn-fed beavers, of course.
dude. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, prairie beavers, that was a thing that happens. But so they had a diet that was, heavily, forb and grass based, but obviously they had some sort of winter food source. One of the things that we've noticed locally again is that, beavers will eat, pretty much everything before they eat a box elder tree. Literally everything else. They will leave box elder trees standing and move on to a different area. Slightly above that is walnut.
That makes
Again,
sense. I see that.
Yeah, walnut
makes
smells
sense.
funky. Yep. And then everything else is basically above that and varying.
So-
I can't.
Do they do other maples, or is it just all of Acer? Okay.
I think they do other, the one area that we're looking at, it doesn't have sugar maple, but the same colony I know loves to mow on silver maples and stuff like that, which is fine by me, silver maples or whatever. But yeah, box elder specifically, they will do literally every other tree. They won't even girdle and just chew on it. They will just ignore it completely and try to dam it up and kill it that way. They hate it.
Beavers have good taste. Box elder's a shit tree.
Oh yeah, definitely a shit tree. It's just this is where you're drawing the line.
Lines must be drawn.
Yeah. The good rule of thumb for anyone who's interested in beaver restoration is willows is like cocaine to them. And it's also, it makes sense because it's an indicator of year-round water, like high water table. They grow fast and regenerate quickly, and they sprout like and grow insanely well. So like there's an infinite food supply as long as they don't completely drown the willow clone. So that's just one of those really good ones. And we're going to try and see if we can't lure them in just by planting like 1,000 willow stakes in a single area. I just see like if I could entice them in with all this really good snacking food. So we'll see what happens. But
so last thing about the diet of beavers, and then we'll talk about who diets on them. So beavers are known, as John mentioned, to cache food. Their caching depends on where they live. Also a little bit on species, like the Eurasian beaver, because like Europe is a little bit more temperate than most of North America. They don't tend to cache as much, and Europe is also a little predator dense, so they're more likely to walk around and just eat stuff off the land, whereas the North American beaver likes to cache things. And so, a lot of rodents cache stuff, so they just, they jam it up somewhere and make it a nice place. And like when rodents are caching, they usually like store things based on what's going to rot first. So the thing that's going to rot first goes on the top of the cache. The thing that's going to rot last goes to the bottom of the cache. Now, where do you guys think John knows the answer to this, so John doesn't.
Yep, I'll shut up. Yep.
Where do beavers cache things? Where are they going to make their cache?
Is it not in the lodge?
I would assume the
Correct.
lodge is sort of problematic because you have to drag everything under the water to get there, but I actually don't know if they'd care about that.
Oh, no,
I know they like to go in the water, but I don't know if they want to drown their food. I'm not sure. Do they like have caches on the bank?
Nope. Because remember, they're real slow. They're real fat and slow. Which makes them. That's why you got to slow cook a beaver. By the way, that's the only way I've had it. Don't smoke them because they're kind of tough. So you want to slow cook it. No, so they build their cache in the water because that's a nice, safe place for them to access. It's called a raft. And usually they're going to put the stuff that's going to like go bad on top, so that'll freeze, and that makes a nice little cap. And if it's completely submerged in the water and it's a bunch of trees and sticks, like that's not going to go bad in the water. It's just going to get nice and moist and tasty. So that's where they usually cache things if they have to cache. Like your southern beavers, your Louisiana beaver. I'm now imagining a beaver doing a Creole accent, which I can't do. That good old boy is not going to cache things because he doesn't have winter, whereas your Canadian beaver is going to make a nice cache. So that's a fun thing about beavers. Okay, let's talk a little bit about who eats the beavers, and then we'll talk about what everyone knows them for, which is their construction ability. So beavers are, like we talked about, the second biggest rodent. So they're nice and large. They are also like fully spec'd to swim and cut down tree. So they're very slow on land because they're chunky and they have a big tail and they have teeth. But their teeth are not for biting people or animals. They're for biting tree. And tree don't go anywhere. Tree doesn't run away from you.
You don't have to catch a tree, generally.
You're trying to avoid catching the tree usually, but sometimes they do catch the tree, which goes wrong. So this is a nice, like, if you're thinking about a beaver as a predator, this is a nice piece of fat meat that is just kind of slowly wandering around at dawn and dusk. So they go on land mostly at night, or they're crepuscular, so they're active at dawn and dusk, because they're really easy to eat and they're really tasty. Wolves love beavers. They one of the biggest predator of dispersing beavers are wolves. Bears also like beavers. They like beavers enough that they'll rip apart. And I've seen like remnants of a beaver lodge that's been ripped apart by a bear. But a bear, if a lodge is too close to the bank, bears will just come onto a lodge and just rip that dang thing apart. They say, "Hello, Mr. Beaver, can you come out and play?" Just like in the warrior scene. And the beaver says, "No, I've seen that movie. I know how this ends for me. I would actually not like to play with the bear." And so the bears try to sneak out where the bear rips apart their den. But yeah, basically anything will try to eat a beaver because they're really slow and they're tasty. If you're, it's just a person if you're a predator walking around. Large bald eagles will also pick off smaller beavers, as will golden eagles. Baby beavers, so we'll talk about how they disperse in a second here. They're pretty small when they leave, so they'll get eaten by coyotes, foxes, all that kind of stuff. And like little tiny beavers are super vulnerable to predation, which is why they build huts. So let's think about huts for a second. So what I think what beavers are most famous for are their dams. So beavers build dams. They build dams just like humans do, usually better than humans.
I have to say better
Way
than
better.
we do generally.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they will build those based on sound. So if they can hear water moving, that is, beavers got like water bubbling OCD. It says no to it.
Yep. So my favorite story is, I think in like the 1960s and stuff like that, they captured a beaver and played the sound recording of on a tape player of rapids, like water going over like a small cobble bar, whatever. And there was a beaver there, and using the materials available, the beaver tried to and successfully covered up the sound of the water coming from the tape recorder. The other thing too is that, to a lesser extent, they also are, and this is when the dam is built, but they have really sensitive fur, and so that is able to pick up the flow of water basically between the like it's. Like you're plugging a leak in a dam and you're trying to feel where that leak is going from. They can feel that with their fur, and that helps them narrow down the areas. One of the things too to remember is that beavers have terrible eyesight. Their sense of smell is pretty good, I think, and sound as well, but they have notoriously terrible eyesight, especially obviously on land, but like even in water, it's pretty terrible. So yeah, so their dams are basically universally kind of a rough U shape. They are made out of everything. Typically people think of wood, but 90% of them have some component of mud, but there are beavers in the rocks. Yeah. Anything that's nearby at the end of the day. So there are beaver in the LA River. And if anyone knows the LA River, that's essentially a square concrete box, because of course it is. And they make dams there out of human refuse. Pick a thing, they'll try to use it. They will anything. The good way to think about like what will a beaver eat and put in a dam is like, what are you willing to spend a little bit of time on cutting as a human? And that's usually about the same size a beaver is willing to bother. They're not going to bother with a big 12-inch tree. They'll cut them down sometimes, but they won't necessarily use them for building a dam. They'll just snack on it.
Much like people, beavers sometimes overestimate their ability. They're like,
oh yeah,
cut that shit down, baby.
Hell yeah! And that's a little bit bigger than I thought it was.
They go, let her eat, and by her I mean my wife.
Yeah. And so a lot of times you'll just notice like beavers just giving up halfway through a project. I've seen it dozens of times.
That's incredible. I feel, I've already liked beavers a lot, but I'm just feeling a lot of kinship here of occasionally you just like bite off more than you can chew, and you're like, you know what? That project is for someone else now.
Yeah,
they're
very like dad-coded
yes,
mammals.
they are.
Yeah. Well, the other thing they do that's really, it's really smart from a seasoning perspective is like they'll cut down a tree in the like summer and spring, and they'll like gnaw on the branches and stuff, and then leave it so it dries out, because trees lose moisture faster.
Heavy.
Yeah, but they lose moisture faster if you leave the leaves on, because those are pulling moisture out of the tree. And so they'll just drop it, and then they'll come back after it dries out. They'll let it season on the ground. They're like, dude, that seems so heavy to drag, and I have to use my face to drag it? No, I'll come back for you.
Let's let that dry a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so rodents, so there are rodents, so they've got the constantly growing teeth, so that's part of the reason why they continually gnaw on stuff. Beavers have been known to, obviously they'll go after anything wood and grass and, cellulose based, but they've also been known to try and go through metal. If they're really, really hungry and they don't have any options, they will try to bite through metal. 9 times out of 10, though, they won't bother with that. The cool thing about the beaver dam is like, it's okay. Obviously it's their instinct to try and build up this dam, but like, that's not the only reason why they do it. Like Calvin was mentioning earlier, they are terrible on land. So they just back up the water so they have an area to escape to at the end of the day. So that's what a lot of times these big ponds are, is it's their escape route. It's their habitat, much like humans. We design the lived environment to how we want it to be. Beavers are doing the exact same thing. And I honest to God think part of the reason why, this is John's insane hypothesis number one. Beavers are very much like humans, and in that regard, that's why we hate them so much, is because they're so similar to us.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, no, I automatically see that. Yeah.
The 16th through 19th centuries would agree with you very much, and they would really like it if you could come talk about some of their theories about beaver architecture.
We'll get them in a second. Let's finish what we know about beaver architecture.
I was just gonna say, I love the like insane variation in size of like beaver dams. It's like, how big can a beaver dam be? The answer is as big as it fucking needs to be.
Literally, yes. I have seen AJ, I have seen dams that are, like
hundreds of yards.
Yeah. Hundreds of yards wide, 12 feet tall. I've seen them where it's like, it's literally just a line of sticks, and it just kind of acts as like a little...
We're going to dam this 1 foot culvert, or we're going to construct like 300 yards of dam to create a pond out of fucking nothing. Like, it's insane. I love
nothing.
The largest beaver dam in the world is roughly 800 meters long.
And can be seen from space.
So let's just dig into that for a second. So beavers build their dams and lodges, and like it can be maintained for generations of beavers, and like the lodge can be built on by generations of beavers. Like, this is like medieval. Like, Marissa, this is why we brought you on as our historian here, is because these guys work a lot like the medieval guys do. Like, we're gonna build a cathedral. Okay, I'm not gonna stop this river. My kids aren't gonna stop this river. But in 16 generations, man, this river ain't going nowhere. I play the long game, baby. So this is cathedral building with your face.
So, and I mean, they found fossilized beaver dams in the highlands of Utah. So like, they've been here a while, and it's the same site. Like, it's been constantly built on and improved and moved and stuff like that. And we'll get to more of the ecology stuff and the stream biology side of stuff later. But that's one of the things, especially in North America, where they were a part of the landscape, and just because of how human population dynamics work, like, we didn't really get rid of them at all. They are integral on how stream channels change and reform, and the fact that the half of this country was probably a wetland in one form or another is probably thanks to beavers, however many thousands of years ago, or hundreds of years ago now. So they are a keystone species. We talked a little bit about it in one of our first episodes about like wolves as a keystone species, and Calvin's got his thoughts, but we can use them as a quick jotter of like, this is a keystone species, wolves. Another classic keystone species is beavers.
Oh, for sure.
For the exact same reason. Like, they radically change the environment.
Without a doubt, and like intentionally to suit their needs. So beavers is neat. And then just, again, to go back, like, their building skill is not innate, it is learned. So, like, young beavers are not good builders. Older beavers are good builders. They learn from each other. They also don't just use their face to build things. Like, again, I mentioned this a couple times, but, like, they're skidding wood by just carrying it places. But they also use their tails to, like, dig up mud and stones and mason the wood in.
Yes. And like they pack, like they squeeze and pack mud in. Like, that's one of the things that we've noticed is like, you as a human building a simulated beaver dam have to like compress and move the mud around and all that sort of stuff. You have to do that. You have to think like this stupid rodent. You're not the guy with a PhD or the bachelor's degree or whatever that has a phone that has access to the internet and the entire wealth of human knowledge. No, you're a stupid rodent. Make the water stop.
Yeah,
and they are really good at it.
And beavers do better brickwork than this old house.
Yeah,
fighting words.
Yeah. So they also build, as we mentioned, lodges. So that's their home. So you have two types of beaver lodges. You have the open water lodge where they'll build up from like above and below. Oh, I should have mentioned this, but when they're building their dams, they build a dam as like a person would, in that the largest stuff goes on the bottom. They fill in the cracks with mud and small sticks, and then they build upward. They'll also use, as John mentioned, stones, rock, concrete, whatever they can find as their base. Like them boys
literally
do
everything.
this to last.
Nope, it's literally everything.
Yeah.
Like you can go if you've seen a beaver dam pop, like you can see the cross section. It's mud, it's sticks, it's rocks, it's grasses, it's literally everything. It's tree tubes in one case, it's diapers, it's old pipes. It is literally everything they can. If they can move it and they want to put it into the dam, they will do it. It's insane.
Much respect to the beaver. Okay, so you have two types of houses. They're going to build an open water house or a bank house. The open water house is like kind of preferred depending on the environment. So if they get a pond that they can make, they're going to build a house in the middle of the pond. So they're going to build up from the bottom with large sticks and mud, and they're going to build a couple of entrances. They usually have at least two entrances. They have a normal entrance, and then they have an escape entrance. And the escape entrance is for when the bear comes around and is like, I'd like to snack on some beaver, and then they get out. And then they'll also, after they build the bottom, they cover the top with large logs and sticks. They build an event so that way they can do some climate control in there so it doesn't get too stanky, which it will because beavers stink. We'll talk about their glands in a little bit, but they have a little chimney in there, and so those are your open water ones, and then you have your shore lodges, which are a little bit less complex, just because this is like your beavers that are on big lakes. So they're going to build something near the shore. Usually they're going to have multiple entrances again because they're more likely to be attacked. And so they need more ways to get out, and they're a little bit less complex just because they're limited by the shore. Also, I hope you guys aren't getting all this, but my co-host is trying to speak.
A little bit.
All right, John, you're just going to have to deal with that. I'm sorry.
I will. It's fine.
So they're just neat dudes. Their ability to build houses and lodges depends on their age and their skill. So the young beavers who disperse, we'll talk about that in a second. The young beavers build like worse lodges, and the mature beavers build better lodges. They'll also maintain lodges. So like you can get some just cathedrals out there, just some manor houses that have been lived in for decades and centuries. So some really cool stuff. And just to finish up on John's point about the fossilized lodges, you can actually see with LiDAR old remains of beaver dams and how those have changed the landscape. But we're going to talk about impacts of beavers on larger systems in a bit. Now let's talk about beaver reproduction. So beavers are mostly, I'm going to say mostly here, they're mostly not monogamous.
Monogamous?
What's the one for man?
Monogamous?
Thank you. They're mostly monogamous. So you have a beaver family is a male and a female beaver, and then everybody else in that group are their little offspring. I say mostly because they are rodents, and so sometimes they step out on each other. But they don't tend to.
What does beaver
many
divorce
ranges.
court look like?
Your partner gets eaten by a beaver.
It's very wet.
Your partner gets eaten by a bear.
That is rough.
So that is pretty. Yes. So all that is true. Another thing to note is like eventually they do kick their kids out.
Yep, that's the next part.
Yep, and so I'll just take over. So they'll kick their kids out, and that's the disbursement phase. But kind of in the family group side of things, sometimes if for whatever reason this dispersing beaver can't find enough habitat, sometimes they will welcome it back into the family group. But there's a kind of a certain critical mass of point where they'll start to chase off the older beavers as they try to, keep a population going locally. So that is actually going back to the predator side of things. Some of the other conflicts, obviously humans, wolves, the traditional wildlife predators. The other thing that they have as air quotes predators is other beavers. So other beavers will defend their territories really aggressively, like to the point of death. So it really depends on the quality of the habitat and the amount of food to go around. But that is some of the most beaver-related deaths is like it's humans, wolves and coyotes, and then other beavers, and then kind of everybody else after that.
Yeah, because these guys got big teeth, and they just don't. They specialize in bite, so don't mess with the beaver. So just kind of finish off, come back to the middle. So they reproduce in the winter is when reproduction happens. Fun fact about beavers is they have a penis bone, but they also have only one entrance. They have a cloaca.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just neat.
Okay, that's just fascinating.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay, so they reproduce in December. Kits are born in the springtime, so about 4 months afterwards. So like May, kind of depends on seasonality. And they raise them up. and then the kids get kicked out in like after a year, so they get kicked out in the winter. Why the winter, you ask? 2 reasons. One, it's easier for them to move around in the winter because they can kind of slide. Otters are much better sliders, though. Like, it's so fun to find otter track because it'll be like 3 steps and then a long belly slide. But beavers can kind of slide. And, like, you know, it's just a fine time to be walking around if you're kind of not good at walking around, because everything is not good at walking around in the winter. And they're trying to set up, so they get kicked out at the end of the winter so they can set up in the spring. You don't want to get kicked out in the, like, beginning of spring, because then you might set up in a bad place. Like, you might pick a vernal pond as your place to set up. But if you got water in the late winter, it's probably going to have enough water for a beaver to set up long term. So that's why they get kicked out in the winter. And then the little guys, they get kicked out when they're like 4 or 5 pounds. The dispersers, they're mature but not really. They're just really
I guess it's juvenile-ish. Or
Subadult?
Like about teenager. Yeah, subadult. There we go.
Yeah. I'm a wildlife biologist.
I'm not. I learned only wildlife biology, but for beavers.
Yeah, so the subadults are pretty small compared to the like full-on adults. Like, they're like just little buddies when they get kicked out, and they have to make their way in the big wide world. And that's when most of them get eaten. Wolves, again, just love picking off beavers that are on the disbursement phase. Super easy to eat, super tasty. You can't make a wolf happier than finding just a nice, tasty 5-pound little baby.
Yeah, and so this is when they start establishing territories and stuff like that, like I mentioned. So one of the things, the smell that Calvin mentioned, that's the castor oil, I think is derived from beavers' glands. And so like that's how they mark their territories. They basically just kind of rub their butts, or their cloacas, I guess, on their territory areas. I haven't particularly noticed a strong smell when I've tromped through beaver territories. Maybe that's because I'm just kind of stuffed up at the moment, but I haven't noticed it being particularly aggressive, but I don't
You're
know.
not their target demographic. It's
That's what I was gonna
for
say.
everything.
Yeah, it's also a lot more noticeable in hot weather.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
I haven't picked it up either.
If I remember correctly from comps, I believe castor oil is not actually derived from beaver, but you know what is? Vanilla flavor and raspberry flavor.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, artificial vanilla.
What?
Yep.
It's also, I know it's really important in the
Yes.
perfume industry. Beaver glands.
I never knew any. I knew the perfume industry. I did not know the false vanilla, or the cheap vanilla.
I believe
flavor.
it's all
That's
synthetic
crazy.
now, but it used to be beaver.
Okay, so our last thing that I want to mention about beaver ecology before we jump into the broader ecology, and then we're going to talk about medieval, and then First Nations in the U.S. and Canada stuff. Is their the last thing I want to talk about is their long-term impacts on ecosystems. Oh, sorry, no, it's their invasiveness. So.
Yes.
European beavers are native to a good chunk of Europe. I would say that our current understanding of their native range is limited based on historic issues. So, like, they were largely extirpated from a lot of Europe because, as Marissa's going to talk about, beavers not only being really cool, they can be a problem for humans in agriculture, but they're also, like, really, 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 really useful. Their fur is some of the densest fur in the world. So if you're like 2 sources of clothing are hemp and fur, you're gonna like beaver. They're also, as we mentioned, very slow and pretty large. So if you got to eat something, again, like I'm not a huge beaver fan, but if you're gonna eat something that's not gonna get away from you that fast, beaver's a good thing to chase down.
If I can add something.
Yeah.
If I can add something as well, they are notoriously, maybe not stupid, but like at least the North American beavers have a very poor fight or flight response to a lot of humans. They survive pretty decently in the human environment and adapt very easily. It's not, 1-to-1, but like they are surprisingly bad at avoiding like human-based predators. So they are relatively easy to catch. And if you got a big stick to whack them with, you're gonna win. Like they can bite you pretty good, but like if you got a whacking stick and you're a cold Northern European in the middle of winter and you need an emergency hat, beavers are probably your
really
best
poor
guess.
eyesight, don't they? So that might make it part of the reason why you can sneak up on them easy.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah,
Probably,
bad
yeah.
eyesight and slow. Like if you can get close enough, you're gonna be able to.
look. They're not the hardest animal to trap. Let's just put it like that. It's not that hard, especially in the winter. But so we're gonna come back to that. Marissa, I really am looking forward to if the medieval folks wrote about how they felt about beavers as food. But what I want to talk about are them as an invasive species. So the North American beaver is not native to South America. However, they were introduced into Chile and Tierra del Fuego as for fur in fur populations. So they are invasive in Patagonia, and so that's Chile and Peru.
Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina, not Peru. So they're invasive. They're invasive in South America. They were also introduced into Finland. This was an intentional introduction, and this was at the time that we thought the Eurasian beaver and the North American beaver were the same species. The idea was, hey, we're going to jumpstart reintroduction of beavers by adding in these other beavers being from North America. And they're like, wait, dude, a beaver is a beaver is a beaver. Well, it turns out that they're separate, and they can't hybridize. And so now you have North American beavers invasive in Finland and Russia right on the border.
How was it possibly easier to bring North American beavers over than to just grab some?
Because the Eurasian beaver was really extinct, and they were in zoos.
I think it's zoos or like the forest of Siberia or
Oh,
something.
no,
like that, I think.
it's on Finland, Russia.
Oh, okay.
The other thing, the introduction happened in the mid 1930s, and there were a few things.
There were things happening.
Yeah, okay.
On the
History was occurring.
Yeah, especially on the Finnish-Russian border in the 1930s, a few things were happening.
Yeah.
That's also why Finland and Estonia have invasive raccoon dogs, whereas in most of the Nordics, they've wiped out the raccoon dogs because they were introduced around the same time. And again, a couple of things came up that made wildlife management. That being the Finns were working on a different invasive species, that being the Russians.
Yep. Again, like I was saying, history continued to occur.
Sorry, that was a joke that I stole from a Finnish wildlife biologist I met. So yeah, we're not going to take sides in the Finnish Soviet war. That's just not a place for us. You know what? Bad guys happened after.
There's a lot of landmines.
Yeah. And so that's why eradicating the beavers in that area is difficult. It's politically fraught, to say the very, very least. And also, as John just mentioned, there are landmines, and you don't do wildlife biology where there are landmines.
At least not for very long.
Don't work so good. No.
Yeah.
No.
So we'll in the second episode of this series, we'll talk a little bit about I think going to even more in depth into the kind of the restoration side of things.
Yes.
But suffice it to say that there are a lot of details, and we are just scratching the surface on like there are people that literally have made their entire career beaver ecology and stuff like that, and so there are other better sometimes resources that you can look at, but we'll try to cover them. But like you can make your career out of beaver restoration and beaver ecology work, to say the least.
Yeah, beaver, always a job in beaver.
Oh yes.
One less fun fact I want to mention. It is, depending on where you are, beavers and muskrats can coexist. Beavers will let muskrats hang out in their huts, assuming the muskrats bring in reeds and other vegetation. If the muskrats stop doing that, they get kicked out.
They are
so
people.
Beavers are landlords.
Yeah,
beavers are landlords. Beavers are humans. It's fine.
Ooh.
I've decided this.
I'm unfortunately that means enemy of the podcast.
Yeah, right? Like,
No, you're wrong.
Damn.
It's fine. Critical support.
Damn, beavers are going in the little red book, right up
Charging
right next to
rent.
sparrows.
God damn.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, all right, Marissa. So speaking of the little red book,
Wait,
Close
what?
enough.
let's
All right,
let's talk about.
I need a question answered, and I'm sure maybe Marissa will get to this, but I think this must be the question at the top of everyone's mind: is beavers?
Oh, we'll
fish?
get to that.
Yes.
I will go. I'm going to go a little bit pre-medieval because it's important for understanding the medieval. So, there was a lot of appreciation for the beaver in the ancient world, and I'm talking specifically about Greece at this point. Aristotle described them as flatter than otters with strong teeth and rough fur.
That'd be fair, yeah. Okay.
He also said
nice.
they were a beast in front and fish in the back, which is kind of like business up front, party in the back.
God damn.
Aristotle, you would love the mullet.
I was going to say beavers first mullet havers.
The Hippocrates.
Oh, wait, hold on. I just have to get this out of my head. Now, Aristotle, I think he would have been a big NASCAR head. Party in the front, sorry, party in the back. He probably loved chariot races, and what is a NASCAR race but a chariot race? Plus, you get drunk for like 2 days. Like, he would have been a NASCAR
Yeah.
head.
Everyone in Greece would have been NASCAR head drinking
Dude, for
pints
real.
of wine. Yeah.
I mean, the Byzantines like burned down their city once because of NASCAR. So,
Yeah.
Boo.
All right. Anyway, sorry.
So Hippocrates said that beaver musk was a healing item, which meant that it was in all pharmaceutical texts until the 19th century because everybody was like, Hippocrates said it, it must be true. We'll talk a little bit later about what it was supposed to cure. The couple other things from the ancient world, Pliny and Aristotle both claimed that beavers have bone-breaking bites.
I can see that. Just
Yeah, sure.
like, don't fuck with a beaver.
Yeah,
like, it's
presumably
not
they
hard.
looked at a beaver and just went, I think that would end badly.
Yeah.
Same dog.
Yeah. They saw those chompers and
Yes.
just went, nah.
And then my favorite bit of beaver history originates with Aesop. He originated, yes.
Oh, the fables.
There's a myth that hasn't really survived because we sort of decided that these were for children, and this one is definitely not child appropriate. Aesop originated the myth that beavers know why they are hunted, and thus to escape a pursuer, a human pursuer, they will chew off their own testicles and throw them at the hunter. So this is because they thought that the beaver sacs were the castor sacs, that those were their testicles. Beavers have internal testicles, so I don't think that would have worked out great for them. But that was the belief, and for with
I love it.
yeah.
Do they ever throw the castor sacs
Nope.
at people, though?
No.
So
That would be hard. You'd have to rip off your castor sac.
right. That's kind
And
of
they have webbed hands and feet.
thoroughly
So
confused.
yeah, so they believed that or Aesop said that they would chew off their own testicles and throw them at the hunter. And he said, like, his fable was about you should not endanger your own life in favor of your possessions, essentially.
It's a fair point.
Okay.
I think that's good. That's a good fable. I don't understand the beaver testicle part entirely, but I'm going to say it's a translation
The
error.
Middle Ages took that one and ran with it.
Well, I would say, hold on. In Aesop's defense, like, you don't get like that many mammals with a cloaca. Like, that's kind of a novel thing. So that probably he was like, dog, who has a cloaca? This has got to be most mammals are like at least 2 holes.
Yes.
So it did throw them off.
So medieval people drew a lot of things from the ancients, especially they loved Aristotle. And one of the things they took was this idea that beavers, chuck their own testicles when under duress. But because it's the early medieval Christians, they gotta make a different moral, because that's not a good enough moral. Medieval people believed, or medieval thinkers, I should say. I don't know what regular people believed because they weren't writing it down, but the people who were writing things down, they believed that the natural world was created to teach people things. So it was used to, things were useful, and if they weren't useful materially, they were useful in terms of like what they could teach you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Sure.
For medieval Christians, beaver testicles came to symbolize all possessions and things you could want on Earth. Like beaver testicles became symbolically sin, essentially. Like all the things that are going to distract you from getting to heaven, beaver testicles.
Okay.
And yeah.
Hang on.
I have
Sorry.
questions.
I'm just trying to process this for a second. So I can understand, like, okay, you don't necessarily want to get rid of your testicles. I'm trying to figure out how throwing that at a hunter is a good thing. Is that what they were trying to say?
In this understanding,
Yeah.
the hunter symbolizes the devil. So
Oh,
as the beaver, hounded mercilessly like the hunter, throws his testicles at the hunter, so too should the Christian divest themselves of all of their uncontrolled desires and sins by throwing them at the devil.
So we're supposed to give
No,
the
we're
devil
supposed to
what he wants?
leave it behind for him. So we know that.
okay.
Kind of sounds like we're supposed to give the devil what he wants. If he's after my sweet little testicles, then I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe I don't understand the moral here.
You know, I just want to say, like, I love, like, I know it's essentially talking to an alien because, you know, just there are jokes in, like, you know, marginalia of old Bibles and whatever that are, you know, like, they don't make a lick of sense to the modern man. I just love that. It is like listening to an alien of just like, I think this is what this means. And like, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. This is,
it's
sorry, I like this,
glorious.
Marissa. Continue.
I mean, this is the reason I'm an animal historian, right? Like, animal history is so cool, and it has the funniest anecdotes. For some reason, I don't think we've cracked the code on this one. For some reason, medieval bestiaries often depicted beavers as blue, and I'm not sure why.
I mean, they're dark, but I wouldn't say blue. I'd say like a gray, maybe gray, which is hard. No, because it's like black.
Yeah,
You could just make black.
Yeah, they're often blue.
I would just make them black, if anything.
Can I just side note?
Maybe because of the water. I don't know.
Bestiary is such a better name than like a wildlife textbook. Like we should.
Yeah.
We should go back to bestiaries.
I think we should, yeah.
I don't want a Sibley's guide. I want
a Sibley's bestiary.
I agree. We should go back to it,
Yeah.
and then we have to have like fun facts that may or may not be real, and also a moral reason.
No. They can all be real.
No. I think it has to be like a fable style fact of like, we think one guy this one time maybe heard that this happened.
But it has to be like you've got the picture and you've got the paragraph description with range and everything, and then you have the little like. It still has to be marginalia though.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yes.
I want that 90 degrees on the page. Like I want to have to turn the book to read it. Like yeah.
Yeah. No. I want the Sibley artists because they're fantastic. Shout out Sibley. I want them to do some marginalia, but I want.
Yeah, I like this idea. Another.
I think we need to come up with our own like a bird textbook of like, I actually once saw this just go in and take an entire Land Rover off of its it swooped in and took a car off. It stole this one baby this one time, or I saw it with thumbs or something like that. I think
I think I'd also want like, you want the accurate illustration, but like I think maybe in the background we have like maybe the more medieval fanciful illustration of that bird also. Like, it's got horns and claws and shit.
Yeah. This is why I think we need to have this is why the internet is bad, is because we used to get these insane drawings when it was dark and there was no electricity and there was only this one candle and you had a really weird.
This is why art is important in science. The scientists need to be able to be artists too. Okay, let's get back to. We're done with
no,
these.
it's
Sorry.
totally good. The testicles will return. I promise.
All right, so back to the testicles.
So one of the earliest descriptions we have of a particular type of beaver building that I'm about to get into comes from Gerald of Wales, and he wrote an account.
Was he from Wales?
Kind of, sorta. It's complicated. There was a lot of like colonialism going on.
Oh. I didn't expect that answer to be kind of. Anyways.
Really
Enemy of the show, England. Read it.
yeah, seriously.
Gerald of Wales wrote about Welsh beavers in 1188 that I was so excited when you were talking about beavers building like cathedrals, because Gerald of Wales is right there with you. He says that they build castles in the river that resemble a grove of willow trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
See that?
I buy that.
But he thought that the way that they built this is that when they needed to build, or when they needed to move a particularly large log, several beavers would lay on their backs, while the other beavers loaded the logs onto their bellies. And then those beavers would be dragged backwards by the tail to the river by the other beavers.
That's sick. I love that. This is just a dude thinking about dudes. He's like, if I were just a little guy, how would I do this?
I would use my tummy.
Takes a massive swig of like mead or whatever the fuck they're drinking back then, and being like, you know what? I bet I know how they did that.
This is a phenomenon that became known as a cart beaver, and
Okay, I'm gonna Google
I'm
cart
going
beaver.
to
Excuse
tell
me.
you specifically where to look. You should look at Aulus Magnus's History of the Northern Peoples, which has a map, and it has illustrated cart beavers on the map.
Yep, we're all furiously typing.
Cart beavers also appeared in North America when Europeans brought them as a concept. That indigenous people did not have cart beavers, as far as we know.
Yeah, the Indians were like, yeah, dude,
Yes.
we've seen beavers. I don't need to imagine what a beaver does. I can just look at it.
But there are so many other things that they believed about beaver dams.
This is wild.
There's this really cool map of America by Nicolas de Fer from 1698. It's a vignette of like Niagara Falls, right? So it's supposed to be Niagara Falls, and in the front, like at the very foreground, there's a whole bunch of beavers, and those beavers are doing some jobs. They are, and they're labeled like there's a key and everything. So there's beavers that are lumberjacks. There are carpenters who cut long branches. There are carriers of wood. There are those that make mortar. There's a commandant or an architect. There's an inspector of disabled beavers. There's those whose job it is to drag the mortar on their tails. There are masons who build the dam, and there are those who tap with their tails to make the masonry firmer.
So, there's an Does the inspector of disabled beavers imply that there's beaver OSHA?
I was going to say, there's beaver, oh, fuck, what is the term?
Beavers do get
Workers' comp?
Yeah.
Workers' comp. Yeah, there we go.
Beavers do they do occasionally get killed when felling. So yeah, there should be an inspector of disabled beavers just out of beaver safety as well as a beaver OSHA. I think that is very important.
There's another thing that like they loved talking about these. So one of the things that happens when Europeans come to the New World is they see all the beavers. There are so many beavers. There are tens of millions of beavers when they get here.
Up to 400
wild.
million beavers. Like every fucking like little puddle had a beaver and a couple of
And they're building these really magnificent, architectural wonders. But this was not quite enough. So the Europeans tended to exaggerate a little bit and wrote about them making like multi-story buildings. And then other Europeans...
I think you could stack that wood up high enough where it looks multi-story.
Probably.
It may take again a few generations, but I think they can do
But
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think sorry, Marissa. Just like another thing to point out is just my reading is like at the time of colonization, we're gonna put the voyageurs aside. Like Europeans had largely extirpated the European beaver. So like most Europeans, especially if you're a Brit, because you have extirpated the beaver a long time ago, like you haven't actually seen a beaver. You have read about them as being like a Swedish thing, but like this like dude who's just out here just building fucking dams out of wood and dragging stuff around, not an animal you're familiar with.
Yeah,
you probably will be familiar with them in that they're like sort of part of your moralizing education, but you've not really seen a real beaver, and you've certainly not seen a beaver dam. So they wrote back and basically said they build these multi-story structures that have entire cities. And then those Europeans that read that would come over and they'd be very disappointed because they'd be like, that's just what beavers do. What? What do you mean they do make multi-story buildings? It's just a really big dam. So they were a little bit less enthused about that. I'm going to move away from beaver building and talk a little bit about beavers as hats. Because they were hats in the Middle Ages, as they became hats later. And one of the places you can find a beaver hat in medieval literature is in the Canterbury Tales, because one of the characters in there, the merchant, wears what is described as a Flaunderish beaver hat, and it's...
What is a flounder? Like wait, like as in like flounder, as in like a fish?
Flaunderish
Like the fish?
as in from Flemings.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's no way to know what that looks like, but we do have depictions of medieval beaver hats that look like round fitted caps, and also there's
With the tail up front or in the back? Where we
I
put the
don't
tail on
see
the
any
spinner?
tails, but there could be tails in different ones.
Oh, I would like the medieval version of lids.
Hell yeah.
I thought you were gonna say party in the back, so it's behind you, I guess, as like a keeps the snow and the rain
it's
off your
perfect.
neck when it's
Yeah,
really cold
yeah.
out. I think that makes sense.
Going down to ye old lids, leaving the parchment on, but the hatter's gone a little bit crazy.
There's also at least one manuscript is like shows it as one of those like Robin Hood hats, like a beaver Robin Hood hat, which I
Oh.
think would look pretty rad. But
Okay, yeah,
they,
yeah. Like talking about the little pointy,
yeah.
folded up type. Yeah,
and, like,
okay.
Beavers were definitely hunted for their fur in the Middle Ages because, fur, very warm, pretty good at keeping the water off.
That beaver fur is double. It's double thick. It's got guard hairs. It's
Yeah.
waterproof. It's really great because beavers spend their whole life in water and it's cold, so they want to be warm.
And what is cold and damp?
Exactly.
Northern Europe.
They also used them for food. This was complicated because beavers were were apparently so delicious that it was hard to stop eating them. Specifically,
Huh.
I gotta say, hard
specifically
disagree.
the tail.
Yeah. Oh, that I know.
So the tail is, a lot of fat. So it is very appealing to people who are, just like one step above subsistence. And there were a lot of arguments about what to do about beavers and their tails because theologically and like taxonomically, beavers were really confusing to medieval Europeans. They were also confusing to people in the ancient world because
And some modern foresters.
Look, it wasn't until the 70s we figured out there were two different
true.
species of beaver.
But they're not land animals and they're not water animals. And so this makes them very confusing. Like, medieval people really liked a solid, clear delineation. And so creatures that spent time in both, and like a lot of time in both, not mostly in the water and then sometimes on land, they find those really confusing and complicated. And so this made beavers confusing, but it also made them complicated to eat. Because if you are a good Catholic, as most medieval European Christians are, you're not supposed to eat fish on Fridays. But beavers are really tasty.
Wait, I thought,
Or you're
wait, I thought
supposed
you
to
were
eat. Yeah, you're supposed to. You're
No,
only supposed to
you're
eat fish
supposed
on
to eat
Fridays. But beavers look really tasty,
And they have a
and
tail.
they have a tail.
And they have a tail. With like weird little like scales and shit on it too, which seems a little
Yes.
fishy to me.
So specifically, there's essentially a ruling that is, beavers are beasts from the tail up, and they are fish from the tail down. So you cannot eat the rest of the beaver on a Friday, but you can eat the tail.
So beaver tail
Yes,
is
beaver
bugs.
tail is bugs, is what I'm saying. Yes.
Beaver tail is bugs.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the ongoing discussion. is blank bugs, beaver tail bugs, rest of beaver,
Beaver tail bugs.
mammal. Hate to say it, hate to do it. but-
Beast.
Yes.
Beast.
Okay, Marissa, in this discussion of beavers, how were they preparing the beaver?
I don't know that I have a description of that in my notes.
Okay, so for part 2, let's see if we can figure out is because I've heard from
Googling medieval beaver
Yeah.
recipe.
Yeah, that the Voyages were not huge beaver fan, but they liked to fry the beaver tails. Hence the popular Canadian snack beaver tails, which is now made of chocolate and cream. I think it might actually be a pastry. The one I had was okay. So it's a popular Canadian snack. I know tails are usually fried, and then I had a slow cooked beaver, which wasn't great, but I'm curious as to how.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is going to be roasted or fried, or in a stew.
Okay.
But I don't know that you'd be super keen on like how delicious beaver tail is in a stew. I'm just not sure how well that would work out. But I feel like it would be a very greasy soup.
I can see that.
And that makes me think it's probably like fried up as like maybe like a bacon-esque
Yeah, I'm not
thing. I
sure.
don't know.
I mean, I've had it as like, slow cooked kind of barbecue type stuff.
Oh, yep,
So that kind of makes sense.
I had it with barbecue sauce, and I did not rate it highly.
Oh,
Okay.
it was really good what I had.
I might have had. It was our first time in only 10.
I will file this under things I'm gonna end up looking up because I want to know how they were cooking the beaver.
I should say I did not cook the stuff I had, so I'm sure there's probably a old.
I'm gonna return now to the anal glands, those castorum sacs, because
As is often said, returning to the anal glands.
especially by me.
You mean the nuts of sin?
Also, they're
the nuts of sin.
cloacal
Yeah,
glands
that's true.
because they don't have anuses.
So their cloacal glands were frequently prescribed specifically for hysteria, which is an ailment that afflicts the female of the human species specifically. It's
nice.
the same ailment that causes your womb to wander around your body uncontrollably.
Oh, usually
When that does that.
Wait.
Yeah, those
yep.
wandering wombs, they're a big problem, and that's part of why women be like that, apparently. So they would basically prescribe the castorum to basically send the wandering womb back from whence it came.
okay.
It was it was
Sure.
widely prescribed for hysteria.
Well, it's well known that wombs don't like the smell
Yes.
of castor oil, so
Exactly.
they go back to.
I'm now thinking of 1590s stand-up comedian. Like, ladies, y'all womb ever be
Right?
wandering? Ladies' womb be wandering like
Women's
this.
wombs sure do be
It's-
wandering.
It's one of my favorite facts that the womb was thought to wander, because I'm always like, yeah, when I'm not feeling it on a day, I'm like, I don't know, my womb's somewhere in my left shoulder right now, so I think I'm gonna sit this out.
Better get me some beaver
yep.
oil.
So
Sorry, not beaver oil,
Yeah.
because oil is made of rendered
Castorum.
fat. Beaver castor. Or beaver
Yes.
castor.
And a lot of times, castorum medication was also mixed with urine. Not necessarily beaver urine. I'm not sure how you'd get that. But you'd mix the castorum with urine and then drink it.
Well, I have one idea, which is
sure.
after you have the dead beaver, just,
Yeah,
yeah,
fair.
Poke
it's
it.
right there.
it's a one-time source, but
In the middle of the 16th century is the first time that it was determined that castorum was created inside the body rather than in the testicles. And they were a little bit confused still because they didn't understand internal testicles. So they may still have thought that the testicles were the castorum sacs. They may also have been confused because male beavers can have non-functioning wombs. So I
don't know.
This is information
I
to
have it
me.
written down. Hang
Yeah.
on a second.
News to me.
I just want to throw out, these guys were, cutting up beavers for a really long time, and it took them like we said, cutting up a beaver was important enough that we had to have a papal bull on what is beaver. So, They just weren't really looking when they were.
They weren't looking.
They may have been.
Just go after that
They may
sweet,
have
sweet
been looking,
tail.
but there's this is way too long to go into in the context of this podcast. But there's a thing that happens in medieval natural philosophy, which there's not really a concept of medieval science, but there is natural philosophy, which is that you might see something with your eyes, but that's not what Aristotle said, and Aristotle's smarter than you.
Aristotle's
So
a bitch.
yeah, so it's like you have to go with what Aristotle said over what you see, because that Aristotle's the expert here.
So if Aristotle didn't mention extra sacks of goo back there,
Right,
there
and
must
then
not be.
eventually you around the 16th century, and there's not people who are sticking to that entirely. Like, there's lots of people who are occasionally going, I'm pretty sure I have opened up a beaver and seen that, but they're not necessarily writing it down because it contradicts Aristotle.
I mean, that's why, because I'm just looking at a map of historic Eurasian beaver populations, and, like, Aristotle definitely could have seen, like, a dead beaver.
Oh
if he
yeah,
wanted. He was just, like, real wrong. Also, I'm looking up there are some historic images of beavers, and they just look like pigs.
Oh man.
They look
I'm
Everything's
gonna
pigs
have to
with
send you
canines.
guys a specific picture of a 16th century engraving of a shorn beaver, because
Whoa, holy shit. Beaver? We can't have
like
a
shaved.
beaver on the pod. That's not that kind of...
Oh, come
it's a shorn
on.
beaver. But it is a, like, if you're looking at it, you can maybe go, I guess that's a beaver, but it's it's a stretch. Yeah, a lot of stuff about beavers was based on that castorum and based on the belief that they got rid of their testicles for reasons. They also were, like, beaver pelts were stolen a lot. And
Are they very young?
yeah, I don't have numbers for, like, specifically when this happened, but I do know that between up until the 19th century, London's Old Bailey has records of at least 222 beaver thefts, or, like, beaver related thefts. And I think it's 45 of them, if I'm looking at my notes correctly, were condemned to death. So they died for that beaver.
Damn.
That they did not get to keep.
Whomst among us,
I'm just doing, like, like 1800s Ocean's 11. Like, Ocean's 11, we're going for the spices. Ocean's 12,
Yes.
we're getting the beaver pelts.
So
Be easy to steal because, like, the building is made of wood. We could just cut in.
we just use a different beaver.
yeah, that too. It's
Yeah.
like, go find another one.
So this is
I'm like totally expert here. It's a beaver.
this is also relevant to my own research. I have spent the last couple days writing about the executions of objects and effigies, and I have one instance in the, oh gosh, I'm going to get the century wrong, and that's going to be bad.
That's fine. No one will
That's
know.
true.
Only you will know.
I think it's 15th century, 16th century, somewhere in there. They're in the Low Countries. Someone executed some beaver pelts.
I,
So they just
Yeah, you
How does
burn
that
them, but
work?
the executioner does it, so that makes it an execution.
it's
Yeah,
real.
I mean,
okay. So it's basic like a book.
yeah, they
burning,
also
but for
did it
pelts?
with, like, barrels of compost.
Okay.
For being counterfeit. I'm not.
Okay. Okay, you're gonna have to send me your thesis when you're done.
Counterfeit compost looks
Like-
like I don't know.
It's not the high quality shit that
Not
I'm
stinky
used.
enough. Better.
Or, Governor, this is just shit. It's not bullshit.
Yeah, like, this is, yeah, you didn't, there's been no time on this. This has not aged at all. What are you doing? And to
Yeah.
be fair,
Sommelier, but for compost.
yeah, I want to know, I mean, there probably was a compost inspector if you were selling it.
There is.
Yeah.
There has to be. If
Well,
they're
the
executing a
beavers
guy
had-
for it.
The beavers had an inspector, so the
Definitely.
compost.
They were inspecting lots of things.
Get a
Yeah.
license for that compost?
You might have to. I don't know if there's compost guilds, but
You got a stamp from the king for that compost?
They just didn't leave
No.
any records. That's
and
fine.
to be fair to my source,
Well, they put the records in the compost.
Oh.
yeah, that's how you get rid of them.
It's just like, that's a composter's funeral. It's the final salute to a good composter.
I mean,
as he
they
goes
did.
in.
So there is a thing in medieval law where there are certain crimes that are so heinous that you have to destroy all of the documents related to the trial as well. So
That's helpful.
maybe they were doing that with this compost thing. Maybe that was just beyond the pales. They're like, any compost inspection stuff got to go in the compost.
Well, it wouldn't be beyond the pale because it has to go.
Gonna beat you.
Come
with-
Or a
on.
beaver tail.
I have my baby. I have to make the kind of joke when I have my baby.
To be fair to my sources, they do specifically say that the compost barrels were quote-unquote false, which I'm interpreting as counterfeit. But it could be that they were lying.
What does that mean? Yeah, but what does that mean? Was they like, what does false mean in that context? Is it they're not big enough? Is it there was a hole in it? Did he
Hole
like
in
have
the
a
bottom,
false
maybe?
Yeah, false bottom or something like that. So it's like
Yeah,
it's
maybe
actually
maybe they were used for like, transporting contraband or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just tricksy.
What kind of crime did the beaver
Oh, they
pelts
were
commit?
also false.
Oh,
I mean,
okay, they were false
which-
beaver pelts. They were probably like
Well,
lynx or wolf or some shit.
They were recorded
Muskrat.
as being
Oh.
beaver, so my guess is that they were just really shitty quality beaver that was being sold as higher quality. That's my guess.
Oh, okay.
Also, John, they couldn't have been muskrat. That's a mammal native North America. This is 50.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. So
Let's see. I think I've got one last medieval beaver thing, and then I do have a couple things of some North American stories about beavers. So there is this codex called the Hagenberg Codex that was that was created in the 15th century, and
Oh, I love codex.
there is a beaver on some heraldry in there that has like tusks, like a boar, and they're pointing straight up.
ooh.
And it's one of my favorite images of an animal of all time. It's great. It's like it looks like its teeth are surprised.
Was it okay? So it's like, does it have teeth, or do they just interpret the tusks as?
I
the
believe
teeth?
it has other teeth as well. If I remember, I don't have it right in front of
Okay.
me, but yeah, it
Okay,
was.
That's awesome. I'm just searching beaver heraldry.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I'm sure there's nothing could be anything problematic there whatsoever. Yeah.
That's fine. No, I'm safe search off, baby.
So, wait. Before we leave beavers behind, I do want to tell you some stuff that I learned in my beaver research, which is that beavers were like medieval people really loved beavers, and that's where we get busy as a beaver from, is because they just respected the
Yes.
work ethic of beavers, and then also the intellect of a beaver, meaning you're kind of dumb, but
Yeah,
really honest.
you're really trying. You're not very smart, but you are really trying. Yeah.
Which is like mean to beavers because they're really
Yes.
smart.
Sorry, I found the photo. Oh, Jesus, what is happening? Sorry, I found it. It's insane. It's awesome. I'm gonna try and see if I can't copy the image. It's great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Like, historical pictures of animals are so fantastic. We don't get an accurate depiction of a beaver until I believe it is the mid 18th century, when the first realistic depiction shows up in the 6th volume of a 6,000 page encyclopedia.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Before the internet. So I sent it to the Discord, the chat,
Excellent.
the Discord. Fuck me.
The thingy.
I have one
thingy-majiggy.
more fact just because it's in my notes right here. This is not medieval, but it is a fact that I learned while I was doing a lot of reading about beavers to pass an exam. There is a Pantone color chart of beaver anal gland secretions.
Oh my god.
Oh, hell yeah.
Science has gone
it was
too
a paper
far.
published in '99 called "The Use of Anal Gland Secretion to Distinguish the Two Beaver Species." So, if you want to know the Pantone colors for beaver anal glands, you could look that paper up. They got them.
Science has gone too far.
I mean, I was like, but at least they didn't make it using the anal glands. They did use the Pantone. They didn't like try to recreate it, but
Yeah.
I suppose.
Small miracle.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm fine with this.
Also, the other thing that I ran into is apparently to beaver used to be a verb, meaning to work hard.
I think we should bring that back. I like that.
That makes sense. I think so too.
Yep. Just you boys out here beaver it today.
But moving to some like indigenous North American stories about beavers, these are like talking about these as though they're historical is not super helpful because they're part of living traditions, but they are sort of how people are going to be thinking about beavers before Europeans arrive in North America. Which is, an interesting thing to think about. I have a couple that I'm particularly fond of.
Oh wait, hold on. Disclaimer here: we probably lost a lot of these like interesting. I say interesting because they're cool, not like weird, but like really interesting legends and stuff like that because of the genocide. Just want to throw it out there. There's probably a lot of lost stories.
Absolutely.
In here. So it's probably
Yes.
Oh yeah. Insane, and just details that someone's, whoever's relation was the only person who knew about it, but they got smallpox or whatever.
So don't get mad at us that we're not going to get everyone here because there was a whole genocide.
And I would just
stuff. And we are
I would just
strongly
point out
anti-this.
as a historian that like this is true of all things in history. Like we've lost most of things, but it's especially true when there's a genocide involved. We're gonna have some holes.
And you purposely erase people's cultures and all that
Yes,
kind
which
of
is
stuff.
also
Or just choose to forget it in
or
some
just,
respects too.
make it so that they can't talk to each other and pass things on. Anyway, so there are a couple that I'd like to talk about. One of them is the Anishinaabe belief or myth that says the giant beaver Wab Amik, and I'm sure I am butchering that pronunciation, I'm sorry. But that giant beaver's dam broke, and that's what created the waterway and islands between Huron and Superior. Which is
that's sick.
super cool.
Oh.
There's a lot of these
That makes
stories
sense.
or these myths have to do with the creation of waterways. So there's one...
Makes a lot of sense. Probably a lot of it.
Yeah,
based
so
in
there's
reality.
one from the Haida of British Columbia, which says how Raven stole salmon from a beaver, and by rolling up the stream around the beaver like it's a rug.
That's sick.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then,
Yeah, okay. I see it.
Raven, or it was a stream, not a river. This is important. Then Raven picked up the stream with the beaver in it and tried to fly away. And beavers tried to chase them, and the stream with the salmon in it was so heavy that that Raven had to keep stopping on the tops of trees and like resting there. So beavers like started chopping down the trees because they wanted to get the salmon back. And eventually this goes on for so long that some salmon slips out of the rug or the stream rug, and those become rivers that have salmon in them, essentially.
Oh, that's fun. There's a scientific precedence in salmon being in trees because you can find the carbon from salmon in the forests around the creeks.
That
with
is
the
very
salmon in
cool.
them. So it's some really interesting studies where they irradiated salmon and watch where those carbon molecules went. They go in
One
the
of
trees.
my favorite parts about this myth is that after they're having issues with this, like just the idea of beaver going, "Why are you in a tree with that?" Like, this is literally this is my thing. There's another myth from the same region, but from a different group, and I do not have the group written down in my notes. I apologize profusely. But they have a myth about a conflict between beaver and porcupine, in which porcupine stole beaver's winter food. And so...
Makes sense. They do both eat bark.
So
they both eat bark, yeah.
Beaver stranded porcupine on an island. But then it froze, and porcupine just came back.
Yeah, I can see all that happening.
I mean, that's just a good story, then.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Porcupine, in retaliation for that, put beaver in a tree, and beaver just chewed its way down.
That's just a good story of like how like interspecies conflicts work.
Yeah, I love the ongoing beaver porcupine beef. Like,
well, I mean, they both eat trees, so yeah. No, I'm here for it. And beaver.
What is a porcupine but an upland beaver?
Yeah, they look not similar, but like superficially, you know, they're both big.
I guess my last thing on this is that pre-European contact, and also probably post-European contact, beavers had a lot of utility as a source of food, but also as a source of firewood.
Oh yeah, I've done this.
Yeah, like if you need some firewood and there's a beaver dam nearby or a beaver lodge nearby, you can probably pilfer some stuff off that and dry it out. Or wherever they've been chewing things down, they're probably going to be things they left behind, or those projects that they started that they did then realize they couldn't finish.
Yeah, I've done this. Wood off of beaver dams is usually super dry. It's really great to burn. And if you have a canoe, you just roll up and you just rob the goddamn beaver.
Okay, I did not know that. That's awesome. I'm learning. I need to try this and figure out a way to do this for the high schooler class or something like that.
If I were a high schooler and somebody was like, "Do you want to build a beaver fire?" I'd be like, "I want nothing more."
It's really easy because beavers usually aren't hanging around the dams. You just go in the middle of the day and just grab some stuff off it.
They also rebuild them like overnight.
It's true.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Yeah, see?
And even if they are hanging around, it's not
true.
like they're going to stop you.
It's illegal thrill.
I only know of one human death caused by a beaver, which is from 2013. A beaver severed a man's artery in Belarus, and he died in like half an hour. But like, that was sort of a freak accident.
What? What?
He probably had like a pet beaver or something like that.
Man, Belarusian
they're built
beavers,
different.
Just something else.
Wow.
Okay, in the time that we were discussing this, I did a little bit of research. So, indigenous peoples of North America love them some beaver because it's nice and fatty. And the other really nice thing about beavers is that they stay plump during the winter. So, rabbit fever you can starve to death if you don't get enough fat in you. Like if you just eat rabbits, that's a thing that happens. And so beavers are a great source of fat, especially because they can eat all the winter. And so beavers were really important to indigenous diets. They liked to make soup out of beaver because it's really fatty. And they would also render beaver flesh for cooking oil.
Again, makes sense.
It's so fatty.
I was going to say, you guys had told us earlier, like it's a really fatty, greasy soup meal or something like that. So that makes tons of sense. And I was going to say, to add to the story, it's very secondhand of a secondhand type of story. But one of the things that comes up when we're doing restoration work that people get bent out of shape about is, well, how are the trout going to move around a beaver dam? Trout are really important in northern fisheries as a game fish. And one of the things that we heard, again, like 3 times removed, basically, was that beavers taught the trout how to jump beaver dams, basically, especially our native trouts. So I have no idea if there's any validity to it. My working hypothesis is that a brook trout has lived with a beaver dam at some point in its long genetic history. So sure. there may be something to like. There's something to work there with it.
Yeah, beavers have been in North America for at least 30 million years. So
yeah. And I know we're not a big fan of like the idea of genetic memory and stuff like that, but I am kind of in favor of it in this case, mostly because it confirms my beliefs, I guess. But like I think there's something to native plants being adapted for native animals for native ecosystems and types and stuff like that. I think they can figure it out.
I completely agree. So we will discuss.
I was going to say, before
episodes.
we move on, I do want to like cite my sources because, that's a thing. So 2 books that I used for my beaver research and that also are very good is there's Beaver by Rachel Poliquin. That's where I got a lot of really cool facts. And there's also a book called Once We Were Hats, which is also a very cool read. So if you want to read more about beavers...
Add it to my list of beaver-based books.
Great.
I know,
great
Once We
book
Were
title,
Hats is
too.
so
I like
good.
that.
That's fantastic. All right, so we will continue this episode in part 2 of Beavers. I know you probably, listener, you probably like, well, Beavers, what's there to say? A lot more to say.
So literally books worth.
Yes. So we're going to come back in the next episode to make everybody happy. We're going to discuss the kind of the deeper ecological impacts of these guys, like how they stop forest fires and impact and are cool on plants. So we're going to talk about impacts on plants and kind of the broader ecological impacts of beavers, as well as we will get into, and I'm sure if you were like me at home, you were like, well, when are they going to mention the Voyageurs and the Hudson Bay Company? And that is in the next episode. So in the next episode, we will introduce enemy of the show, the English, as well as...
Also the French, kind of.
As well as the French. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about interesting, long time, and just like kind of interesting company, the Hudson's Bay Company. And so we're going to talk about, modern beavers, as well as post-medieval beavers and indigenous beavers. We'll talk about beavers being parachuted out of planes. We're going to talk about 400 years of capitalism and exploitation in the Hudson's Bay Company.
We're going to talk about the most cutting-edge science in the ecological restoration sphere, building a beaver
We can talk about
dam.
how we finally figured out that beaver castorum is not useful as a medicine in the 19th century.
All of these things and more on our next episode.
Yes.
Also, end matter, like, comment, subscribe, I guess. Send us emails to seedpod.pod. Rate us 5 stars on all of your devices and things like that. We're still working on it. This is very much a hobby for all of us here. Eventually, we may get a Patreon where if you want to tip us a couple bucks here or there, to make sure I get paid sometimes. We may be setting that up eventually, but TBD on all of that. So, anything else, guys?
Thanks for tuning in.
Just that the Hudson's Bay Company is dead and it was killed by capitalism, and we will talk about that more later, as well as lots of
Bye.
See everybody
interesting
later.
stuff about the Voyageurs.
Bye.
Bye.